people working together to understand issues, their position, and what they want to change, and the methods and targets of how to make that change happen. Networks for solidarity, synergistic purpose, like that, coming together to create teams of like-minded people, organizing for change, coming together, listening, sharing, thinking, acting, and bringing together people with a common goal. These are all spot on, and really, really important aspects of organizing. So again, great to see our sort of collective understanding of what organizing is. I'm going to go to the next slide on this one. And just stop the share. And we will go to the next slide, if we can. Okay, you should be able now to do the second activity on this deck, which is what are desirable characteristics of leadership. So using that same link, you should be able to start adding words about how you would define leadership. There we go. It's working. I will share my screen again. I think I can do that. Cool. Great. What is leadership? A lifelong learner, being vulnerable, having empathy, listening, being able to build teams, strategy, enabling others, being inspirational, making other leaders or building up other leaders, having compassion, patience, listening, kindness, working with people, honesty, being brave, taking risks, innovating, and practicing active listening, and being able to articulate your vision, and being humble in the work. These are all absolutely on point. So I'll save these. I think this is a nice, I'm seeing some comments about the Mentimeter tool. It's great. I would highly recommend it. I'm using the free version, which is why I have to switch between so many windows, because you can only have like one question per presentation. So I actually have 4 presentations as opposed to just one. But I'll save these and send them to the CCEDNet team, and maybe they can incorporate them into the follow-up they're doing. Yeah, so just to bring it back and to continue on with the presentation. What is organizing? We got to a lot of this with those exercises, and so the model that I use, or sort of how I think about organizing, comes from a guy by the name of Marshall Gantz. He didn't invent it. Yeah, some of you will know Marshall Gantz. He's a famous organizer from the States, and has sort of developed a model of organizing and training other organizers that draws on his experience and the experience of other social movement organizers for the last many decades. And he kind of distills that all into a model called distributed organizing. It's also been called big organizing. And a great example of how this can play out is the Bernie Sanders campaign, not this past one, but the one from 2 primaries ago. And there's a great book called Rules for Revolutionaries by the 2 main organizers of Bernie's campaign that I would highly recommend to folks when thinking about organizing and thinking about how digital tools and digital platforms can be used in organizing. So to kind of sum up our thought bubble and to use the definition that's provided by Gantz, we can think about organizing as leadership that enables people to turn the resources they have into the power they need to make the change they want to see in the world. Put another way, we can think about leadership as accepting the responsibility to create the conditions that enable others to achieve shared purpose in the face of uncertainty. And it's clear that people in the virtual Zoom room today understand that, right? When we look at those thought bubbles, a lot of those ideas were coming out. But I'm a big fan of these definitions. I think they take those ideas and kind of put them in a more succinct way. And the point with all that, just as we sort of set the stage there, is that organizing is about change, and change required leadership. So organizing is leadership. Like in this framework, with this approach that I'm presenting today, you can't separate those two. If you're going to organize, you're going to lead, and if you're going to achieve your goals, you're going to have to bring good leadership to the table. And that's important to remember, especially as we talk about online organizing, because when you're organizing in person with people in community, like the idea that you're a leader is sort of more obvious. But when we start to work online and there's like more space between people, when the experience is less personable, it's more difficult to sort of conceptualize yourself as a leader. But I think it's important that as organizers, we root ourselves in the practice of leadership. So just to unpack the organizing framework a bit, and again, this comes from this concept of big organizing. You can sort of think about organizing in 5 parts. Step 1 is telling your story. Step 2 is building relationships. And step 3 is structuring your teams. And that's sort of how we build and maintain and increase our power. And then strategizing and taking action for how we use power to achieve the change that we want to see in the world. And if you rush to strategy and taking action without doing the foundational work of storytelling and building relationships and putting teams together, you're not going to get very far in your organizing. And I tell you that from like my own lived experience of doing community organizing work. So these next 4 slides, there's kind of a slide for each of those 5 areas. And I'll just go back. Like I've done trainings, I've given trainings, and I've been part of trainings where we spend half a day on each of these bullet points. So we're not going to do that because I only have 40 minutes-ish left. But just so that you're aware that these next slides are actually just the tip of the iceberg for each of these concepts. But I think will help us think about the online organizing points that are coming up later. So strategy, when we're thinking about strategy and organizing, we're asking these questions. We're asking, who are our people? What is the problem? What is the goal? What are our tactics that we can use? What is the timeline, and what are the moments of opportunity? And that storytelling piece really comes into play with those first 2 questions, right? Who are our people and what is our problem? You have to unite people around a shared concern, a shared sense of identity, a shared understanding of a problem, and a shared aspiration for an alternative. And so that's something that's very important to think about when we strategize, that you've got to answer those questions about who we are and what we're trying to do before we move on to the actual tactical and strategic elements of any given campaign. And importantly, when we're thinking about organizing and strategy, we've got to be aware of the allies that we have and the groups and individuals that could potentially be our allies, and the groups and individuals who will never be our allies. And that's important for online organizing as well, and we're going to talk about that in just a few slides. It's also, when we're talking about strategy, important to think about nested goals and mountaintop goals. If our mountaintop goal is to stop the Trans Mountain pipeline, what are the little victories that get us there? When are the upcoming moments of opportunity that we can organize around that like build the pieces that take us to the top of the mountain? And then the last sort of core piece of organizing, and that is like really important when we're talking about online organizing, is building our teams. Gantz and the model that I'm talking about advocate for this idea of the snowflake structure, or the distributed structure of organizing. So this is something that isn't hierarchical, but it's also something that isn't without like purpose and intent. I think some non-hierarchical organizing endeavors and groups end up being almost chaotic, because there isn't a clear understanding of who's doing what, when, and why. And so our job as organizers is to like use our leadership skills to help create teams that are going to be effective. And that's important, because if you don't have that structure, if you don't have a clear sort of structure in place for how you're going to organize, it's very hard to plug new people in, right? I'm sure you've all gone to like organizing meetings for causes and gone into a room, and it's like, hey, like everyone here is passionate, and like let's have a meeting, and then you kind of leave the meeting and it's like, what did we even talk about? What did we even accomplish today? I don't feel like I know how to plug into the work of this movement. Versus if you plug into an organizing body that's got established teams, that has a campaigns team, a social media team, a public education team, then like new volunteers and new people can more easily find where they fit and use their skills and abilities accordingly. And then thinking about tactics, and this is good also for when we think about tactics online, is this idea of tactics that hit the sweet spot, right? So these are the things that not only achieve our theory of change and our strategy, but they're things that help develop other leaders, so they create opportunities for people to step in and lead their own work. And then also that strengthen your organization and your team. And so we're going to talk about what tactics like that look like, and how to implement them in a way that not only achieve your strategy, but that strengthen your organization and develop leaders within your organization. Okay, so that's the context. I'm gonna stop the screen share just for a second so I can check the chat. Questions I was thinking I would do at the end, but please put them in the chat and I'll glance at them if I can. That's kind of the sort of background on organizing. If you've got questions there, like now, feel free to toss them in. And if not, we can come back to them at the end. Okay, I am going to share my screen again. Cool. Okay, so why does organizing online matter? Like some of these reasons are going to be obvious, but they're still important. So like first and foremost, that's where the fight is. We've got to organize online, because if we don't, what's left? We know that the forces on the other side of the political spectrum, the individuals and organizations that are have a vested interest in corporate power and in the sort of like nexus of like government and corporate control. We know that they're using the internet, and the two photos on the bottom here, The Social Dilemma and The Great Hack, those are two movies on Netflix that I would encourage you to watch if you haven't done so already, that really unpack the extent to which political and economic elites around the world are using the internet, are using big data to control the decisions that we make, and to really hold on to power, and to use the sort of this idea of us being free citizens of the internet and enjoying all of the benefits of technology and social media, but to really then use that to hang on to power and to achieve political outcomes. And it sounds almost Orwellian, and it is, but it's also happening. And I think we can't run away from that reality. So that's why we, as organizers, need to get better at playing the game where the game is being played. And then also, you're not going to organize anywhere else during a pandemic. If you haven't figured that one out yet, you're spending a lot of time in front of your computer. So that's just the game we're playing. And then the other reason is that the tools are awesome. We can do things today as organizers that like 10, even 15, like just weren't possible. And we have the tools in the palms of our hand and at the tips of our fingers. And we're not going to win. We're not going to win without organizing online. So that's why organizing online matters. Just gonna try it. Sorry, my mouse is being a bit funny here. There we go. Okay, let's do one more of these. Let's talk about what organizing online looks like. So hop onto that code. I'll share the link again in the chat, and we'll go from there. And then this is the last one of these thingies. So I'll come down here. Great. So yeah, hop on there, and I will bring up the last one, and we can talk about what organizing online is to us. Hoping that it's working for you. Yes. Okay, it's working. Great. Great. So we're seeing things populate here. Communication skills, accessibility, tech savvy, a lot of work, social connections, screens, relationship building online, design and moving fast. Scheduling, networks, technological know-how, time and time-consuming social connections, pushing for concrete change, and sharing stories online, and communication and technology are obviously at the heart of it. Again, I'll make sure to share these graphics with the event organizers. Because I think we're doing a really good job of outlining the concepts here today. So okay, here we go. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Everything that was put on the screen there for what online organizing is was correct. It's a technology centered and communications centered endeavor. But just because it's online, and this is the point I really want to stretch, is that we don't have to abandon the principles of community organizing that we outlined from the beginning. That like just because we're organizing online, we don't have to forget about the importance of building relationships, of telling our stories, of connecting with people in our organizing and forming teams, and that really a lot of what can be done with online organizing makes a lot of that work easier. And it's not without challenges, and we're going to talk about those challenges. But wanted us to just kind of start with what organizing looks like. So, I think step one when we're organizing online is creating and telling our story. And so the sort of images on the screen here are examples of online organizing that I've been a part of or that I've seen in our community. And they all start with crafting a narrative of the need for change. And that can be everything from the need for true progressive leadership in Winnipeg Center to telling the story of how the Conservatives' failure to invest in childcare has created a situation that puts parents and families behind the 8 ball. Or it can be a story about how our communities suffer when governments implement agendas of austerity. And there's different ways to tell your story, right? If you've been following Communities Not Cuts at all, as of late, you know that memes are one way that we're trying to tell our story. Video and audio and photos and infographics and blogs and vlogs are also ways that we can tell our story. And it is labor intensive, and there is a skill set there that's needed to do a lot of that work. But it's important that we do that work. And it's much the same as how organizing was done before the internet. We now just have a bigger kind of space to fill with our organizing and with our public narratives and with our storytelling. So once you've identified your people and started crafting your story online, digital organizing is really about building your list. And I want to make a couple things really clear. And the first is that your list is your power when you're online organizing. I'm open to hearing about other things that are important when it comes to online organizing and digital organizing and campaigning. But I would still argue, and I think it's a really important point, that if you're not building a list, you are going to have a hard time achieving the change that you want to see. And likes on your Facebook page are not people on your list, and signatures on a change.org petition are not people on your list. I'm talking about a list. I'm talking about the names, phone numbers, emails, and addresses of people who care about your cause that are in your community, that at the very least are on a spreadsheet, and even better are on some sort of usable database. So how do you get people on your list? You can piggyback off of existing mailing lists from other organizations, right? So that would maybe be the Manitoba Energy Justice Coalition sending out a link to invite people to another environmental organization. If you're doing events out in the community, having a sign-up page or a piece of paper that you can pass around to collect people's information because they care about that issue, that's another way you can collect names. Petitions, I think us as activists and organizers, we're getting sick of petitions, and I get that. They don't really do anything except they build your list. And that's often and we're going to get into some examples. When we do a petition asking Brian Palliser to resign because he's totally messed up his response to the pandemic, I don't think we actually think Brian Palliser is going to end up resigning. I think what we're thinking is that we're going to get a whole bunch of people that are concerned about what's happening on our list so that we can continue to work with them and build power with them for other opportunities. And just to step back to this idea of likes on your Facebook page not being people on your list, there are ways to get those people on your list, whether that's direct messaging people who like your posts, or other ways of linking between social media and other digital platforms. And then personal networks, right? Like not being afraid to reach out to people in your networks and getting them to sign up on your website. and again, working with ally organizations who might have bigger lists than your campaign. Once you've started to grow your list, you also have to think about managing your list. And so kind of at the lower end of the easier end of the spectrum when it comes to list management are spreadsheets. I'm sure that in your organizing you've used spreadsheets to contact people, to keep track of volunteers, and that's good work. You can also use email marketing tools like MailChimp to manage and communicate with your list. But the cream of the crop when it comes to online organizing is using what are known as customer relations management software or database platforms. And the one that I'm most familiar with is a platform called Nation Builder. And so what's cool about Nation Builder is it allows you to do a whole bunch of things from one place. It allows you to manage your list. So every person in your database can have a huge number of attributes that you can search through. That's everything from their political party leanings to their address to the issues that they care about, to their age, and obviously this information, when someone signs up, we want to make sure we're following privacy rules and regulations. We're dealing with personal information, but it's very important for this work to be able to know who is on your list and how they can sort of be looked at through different lenses. You can also use Nation Builder to coordinate volunteers by assigning volunteer prospects to other leaders or to steps of a volunteer escalation system. You can also use Nation Builder to manage your website. And that's great because then people can go to your website to see an upcoming event or sign a petition. And if they sign up and they click, then they might select yes, like sign me up for the mailing list. Then you've got another person in your list, and that kind of happens automatically. And then you can also communicate using a newsletter function to your list, which can be that can be a big deal. I'm working right now with Leah Gazan on her Motion 46 campaign, and some of you yesterday might have got an email from me or from our team, and that was sent to 42,000 people, and that's why it matters, right? So that when there are moments for action, we can, with a few clicks of a button, we can reach a large number of people. And lastly, Nation Builder also allows you to fundraise. And having all of those functions in one platform is really, really important. And there are a lot of organizations in Winnipeg, in Manitoba, that are using Nation Builder. Communities Not Cuts, the Manitoba Energy Justice Coalition, Childcare is Essential, just to name a few. And then this is, again, I think, a really neat part about Nation Builder and about customer relations management software platforms is their ability to geolocate people, right? And so this is a way of taking digital organizing and looking at people who have interacted with an online campaign and saying, where do these people live? And that gives you like a whole lot of capability and functionality, especially when we're talking about electoral politics, right? So if we want to pressure the federal government on their climate action plan, like we did during the People's Climate Plan back in 2016, we can actually use Nation Builder and sort the entire Manitoba Energy Justice Coalition list based on which federal riding they live in, and then ask them to take part in a targeted action with their member of parliament. Just to kind of give you one example of how you could sort of use geography and actual physical communities as a way of structuring online engagement. So once you've got your list, you're growing your list, and you're building your list, and you're managing your list using Nation Builder, how do we move our list to action? And here's just a couple of examples of the way that we can mobilize and use our list. Petitions are one. And if you want to see petitions in action, one of the best places you can do that right now is going to Communities Not Cuts Manitoba and checking out our petitions page. We've got petitions on a wide range of issues relating to provincial service cuts and the pandemic. And every time somebody new signs up, we have them on our list, but we're also giving them an option to take action. And then from there, you can do events. And I think it's important to think about where online and in-person events interact. And right now, we can't really do in-person events. So that photo on the left is the Motion 46 National Day of Action. We had like 200 or 300 people on a Zoom call. And not only was it educational and informative, but it's a way for us to like physically show the people power that's behind our movement on screen, both for the media and also for other people who are involved in the movement. The middle photo is us making the sun earlier this year for the Communities Not Cuts honkathon at the Ledge, and then the Communities Not Cuts Pots and Pans march for community. And again, if you get people, like, it's important to think about how, right, if you have a big event, it's safe to say that like not everybody who comes to the event is already on your list. So you want to be able to have a system in place, whether that's volunteers walking around with clipboards, or like was done at the climate march 2 Septembers ago, when thousands of people were at the Ledge, and one of the organizers got up and asked everybody to pull out their phone and text, like it was text like climate to like a 5-digit phone or like a 3-digit phone number, so you could actually just text a platform that would then automatically add you to the email list for that cause. So that's something to think about as well. Other tools that you can use online, and the Manitoba Energy Justice Coalition has done a great job of using this tool, and that's like one-click letter and email writing, or phoning your elected officials. So having a form letter, we can send an email to 1,000 supporters and say, hey, now's the time to email your MLA. You click the link, it takes you to a page where you can enter your postal code, and it will automatically not only send your letter to whoever the political target is, but if we want, we can have it copy your local MLA or MP based on your postal code. And then of course there's options for people to edit their own letter from there. And then other kind of tools for getting people to take action. Hustle is interesting. That's a platform that allows you to send text messages to supporters who have signed, who have agreed to receive text messages. And Call Hub is a platform that syncs with Nation Builder that allows you to basically run virtual phone banks with volunteers who are in different locations by using your database to create a target list, and then using the Call Hub platform to enable volunteers to call that platform. It provides a script, and it provides a mechanism for tracking the data that's generated from those calls. So just wanted to highlight a couple examples of list building and movement and online organizing that I've been a part of in the city lately. So some of you might remember the nomination campaign for Leah Gazan that happened in Winnipeg Center last year. We used Nation Builder to help 1,300 new members sign up in 2 months. As I mentioned, that's actually 42,000 petition signers, so I forgot a zero. But we had 42,000 people sign the Motion 46 basic income guarantee petition. And then from there, almost 3,000 people emailed their MPs. Some of you on this call have probably also signed the Child Care is Essential petition, which picked up 3,500 signatures in a couple months earlier this summer, and now has a list of people that they can continue to engage with on those issues. Okay, so that's the list engagement stuff. It's also important to think about how we can empower our volunteer organizers to do the work that we've just outlined using online tools. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with Slack, but if you're not, Slack is an online tool that allows people to work in groups, to join topic-specific conversations. And for me, I think the big thing with this is not getting 1,000 emails. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't get as many emails in my personal inbox anymore. I used to wake up like every morning or after a weekend and there'd be like hundreds and hundreds of emails in my personal inbox. And since using Slack, that doesn't happen anymore. It's because now, instead of having to blind CC the 12 people in your organization and then read through these threads to figure out what matters, we can use a chat-based platform that allows you to structure conversations in a more accessible way and in a way that declutters your inbox. And then using project management tools like Trello are also really important for keeping your team engaged. But as we'll see, not without problems. Big thing I want to hit home on is that everything we've just talked about doesn't happen in isolation or as like a 1, 2, 3, 4 and you're done. They happen consistently and in an ongoing way, and they feed into each other. So when you tell your story online, we hope that leads to getting more people on our list. And when we strategize for how we're going to engage and activate people, we also want that to grow our list and to be part of telling our story. And we want to do all of that in a way that develops our organizing team and allows people to plug in with ease. Okay, so it's 10:02. I'm just gonna get through some of the lessons and challenges, and then I'll field some questions from the chat. So lessons that I've learned and over the last number of years of organizing is just go nuts is the first one. Don't over-organize. Don't fixate on putting your strategy ahead of getting people together to do work and to care about a cause, because you'll stifle your momentum. It's really easy for people to get, and I'm bad at this, right? It's like, oh my God, like this, we have this enormous task at hand. We have a government that's like limiting the human rights of Manitobans for X, Y, and Z. How do we get there? Like, what is our mountaintop goal? It's better to let things emerge organically than force them from a top-down approach. And we've really seen that with Communities Not Cuts. You know, Communities Not Cuts has been around for like 4 years now, but never really got off the ground in a meaningful way until more recently. But kind of what happened in the interim was that we just like opened up our Slack space for people who wanted to create online content. So basically all that happened with CNC for months was people making memes. And that, in addition to event planning and some other key things, but like the main thing that happened was this kind of like space for content creation. And that like rustled up a whole bunch of organizers that are now working to develop a more complete strategy. So that's just don't stifle people's energy with too much strategy is the big point there, and create space for creativity. Again, weaving together the real and the online world. So the photo here is from one of the honkathons that Communities Not Cuts did, but we made that accessible to people online through a broadcast. So we were broadcasting live from the event. We were connecting other speakers through a Zoom and a YouTube channel, and then sharing that with the public. And on the right there, you've got the Childcare is Essential campaign, which asks people to put up a window sign and engage their children in coloring those window signs, but then taking photos of that and sharing that on social media, driving more people to the campaign. So thinking about how we weave together the real and the online world. Okay, this is a really important point also. Tools are not systems. And what I mean by that is just because we have Nation Builder and we have the capability of sending email blasts, and just because we have a Slack channel, and just because we have Call Hub, and because we've got social media, that doesn't make an organizing system. And you've got to really think through how those different component parts fit together so that you can assign people to parts along that system. This is a little window into my twisted brain. I really think about things kind of in systematically. So don't like, I'm not trying to convey anything here other than that if you're going to do online organizing, you need to know where your tools fit together to actually build your list and affect change. And if you've got questions about what you're looking at here, I can answer that after the presentation. Here's one. I actually said this the other day to my friend Laura. She might be on the call. I said, Laura, our Slack channel is a ghost town right now. And so for anybody who's used Slack, you know that it can be a sort of hustling and bustling place of organizing activity, but it's also a place that can go very quiet. And I think that's indicative of the nature of this work, right? We're humans, we're not computers. We're using online platforms and tools that enable us to do a lot of things, but ultimately we're still people. And that's why we need to bring care and support and love into the work that we do. We have to build relationships. We can't be afraid to get on the phone. As organizers and leaders, we've got to keep an eye on people who are burning out. We've got to find out why they're not coming on Zoom. Is it because they don't have access? Is it because they are intimidated by the use of tools? Can we find ways of training them and supporting them? How can we make our organizing feel more like it's in person during a pandemic? One of the things we've done at Communities Not Cuts is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 4 till 7, we just have an open Zoom link that comes online automatically. Sometimes there's nobody on it, sometimes there's a lot of people on it, but it's a way of kind of creating a real space where people can get together to do the work. Measure your organizing. So this is really important. You've got to be able to look at your tactics and look at how they're generating and engaging people. Nation Builder is great for that. So if I send an e-blast to 40,000 people, I can look at the percentage of people that opened that link or that actually read the email, the percentage of people that went to the website as a result of reading that email, and ultimately the percentage of people who took action. And that's a way of being able to sort of say, like, which tactics are working. Leadnow will do things like if they're sending an email to their list of like 100 or 200,000 people, they'll try it with 4 different subject lines. And then they'll come to a meeting and they'll look and say, like, okay, like we got 20% open rate on subject line A, we got a 30% subject line on open rate on subject line B. Like, what is it about the way we framed this email that got more engagement? And so that's another really important takeaway. Challenges. The big one, I think, for us, or one of the big ones for us, is getting past the algorithm. It blows my mind and makes me extremely frustrated that when I share a video of a cat, or when I share a video of doing something fun and cute and cuddly with my family, that it gets 40, 50 likes. Every time I share a Communities Not Cuts post or something political, 2 or 3 likes, which is just like maddening. It's like, I already know that like my general posts on social media have a much greater potential and reach. But as soon as I post something political, it gets suppressed by the algorithm. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well. So what are things that we can do to beat the algorithm? Advertising, but that's also difficult because Facebook's very sort of strict in terms of who they let into the advertising game. Days of action, calling on allies and influencers to really like launch social media campaigns. Those are some of the things that we can do to beat the algorithm. But I think that this is going to continue to be a challenge that we need to solve. Actually winning. I think this is a problem regardless if you're talking about organizing generally or specifically online organizing. One way to define winning would be to say people still care about the issue, right? So we're still winning. The Manitoba Energy Justice Coalition, in my mind, is still winning because there are still thousands and thousands of people in Manitoba that care about environmental issues. But I think we also have to ask ourselves, if we're serious about gaining power, how do we do that? How do we define more meaningful wins? And often opportunities for winning come around moments, political moments, whether that be elections, whether that be key votes, whether that be approval processes for pipelines. And sometimes we just have to create our own moments, and that's certainly the case in a pandemic. And then another thing to think about is if the issue does win, if we do overthrow a right-wing political leader, if we do stop a pipeline, if we do prevent the city from implementing horrible orders to rip down homeless shelters, is it possible to say that like your organizing specifically led to that? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, and maybe it doesn't ultimately matter. Because what you're doing with your organizing is contributing to sort of a wider trend, a wider movement for social change. That's it. Went a little long. Okay, I'm going to stop my screen share and field some questions. I feel like I talked a lot. So,
oh, I replaced you. I meant to join you. Hold on.
Oh,
let's
yeah.
go back there.
Do you want to field questions for me? Is that?
I think what we'll do, well, thank you so much, Joseph. And if one of my colleagues could put the ASL back up, that was totally me who just wiped the deck here. Okay. I think what we'll do, I suspect there's a lot of people who want to ask questions and maybe take the conversation further because the chat has been quite busy. So we can throw you all into a breakout room, assuming Joseph's okay with that. I think our Michael will join there as well, Michael Barkman. So if you wish to join that breakout room, change your name, right click on your screen, or click on your name, your participant in the participant list, and put an A at the start of your name. And that'll shoot you to the top of our list, and it'll make it very easy for us to throw you all into a breakout room. I'm also going to put a link into the chat. I signed up for a Menti during your session there, Joe. And so if folks can go to that link and answer the question of how fantastic was Joseph's session and what did you learn? And we'll start populating a word cloud in response. And I'll share the screen as they come in. Hopefully no one, I'm running wild here on this a little bit. Oh, there we go. They're coming in.
You guys.
Look at that. Leadership, transformative, inspiring, amazing. Online revolution.
Cool.
So I think that is a resounding success, Joseph. So yeah, put an A before your name if you wish to join into the breakout, and we'll start throwing folks there. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thanks, Darcy. Thanks, everybody, and look forward to the breakout chat here.
Okay.
And, I see one question about the slides. Yeah, I'll make sure that the link is circulated.
Yeah, we can connect about that. Okay, I'm gonna pull you off the spotlight here and talk about some other stuff. Noting, so that's the end of that session. If you go join the breakout, great, you'll be put there shortly. I still have everyone's feedback on Joseph showing up on my other screen, so I'll try not to be distracted by that. The other link I'm going to put in here is, you've heard this from us before, we're running a demographic survey as this goes along because we need to have an understanding and want to have an understanding of who's attending the gathering. We've also want to give you a little light box. And so the only way to get that little light box is to put your address, which is included in the demographic survey. We've partnered with Local Investment Towards Employment to put together little packages of stuff purchased from social enterprises here, most primarily from Winnipeg, I believe. And we're going to mail those out to you or have them delivered to you. So please put your information into that survey and put your mailing address. And don't just put your mailing address. You got to put the rest in. I'm not going to send it to only mailing addresses. I think we need the rest there. So thanks. You'll also be getting a final survey evaluation following the event here. Our next session is at 11 a.m., if I'm not mistaken. If someone actually wouldn't mind confirming that, because I don't have it right in front of me. If someone wants to throw that in the chat. Until then, that session, it's our closing plenary. It's going to be movement weaving for advocacy and action. And we're going to hear some reflections from some community leaders who have been joining us for this week and reflecting on this week. And then Sarah and Michael will be facilitating you as we try to take the learnings from this week and get as much motivation and as much concrete action as we can following all the excellent conversations and great ideas that have been out there today. Right now, we have our final artist for the week. We've been able to feature an artist each day. We've featured one per day. And today, I have the pleasure of introducing Keri Latimer. So Keri is a musician from Winnipeg with her currently with the alt-folk group Leaf Rapids and previous band Nathan. She's been touring internationally for 15 years. I suspect she'll not be a new face to many folk here. Aside from crooning about vultures and barbershop stabbings, she plays the theremin and scores music for films. The career highlights include the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, solo performances for the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. She was part of a Bjork composition, has contributed to Academy Award nominating films, Frozen River, as well as Only Dream Things by Guy Madden, and Sheila Carter's film, Before Anything You Say. So with the help of the Canada Council, the Winnipeg Arts Council and the Manitoba Arts Council, an album of music for theremin is being recorded to be released in 2020, which, Keri, there's only like 3 weeks left in 2020, so presumably that's coming pretty soon. So we'll get Keri spotlit here on the front, so I can not be spotlit anymore. Or is the team just going to punk me and make me stand here on my own for a while? There's Keri. Wonderful. All right, Keri, I'm gonna stop talking, and it's all yours.
Okay, thanks very much, Darcy. Hello, everybody. I know you've been working hard for these last 4 days. I've been peeking in some of the sessions, and I'm so inspired by all of the work you're doing, and just want to entertain you now. I'll just play some songs. You can shut your minds off and drift and relax. And this is a song actually that Madeline Rogers sang on, who I know she was singing here the other day for you, and she sang some backups on a song called Dear Sister about teenage pregnancy. Oh, where will you go, dear sister? They said to get your suitcase packed. It is splitting at the seams. It is splitting at the seams. I wonder when you pressed your body against a brethren's flesh, was it sweet? You were always wilder than me. You were always wilder than me. Father flipped the kitchen table. It floated strangely in slow motion. Mother dove for a souvenir mug from our holiday by the ocean. That night you crawled in bed beside me. Our tears drowned a patchwork quilt. You were shaking like a leaf. You were shaking like a leaf. Oh, where will you go, dear sister? They said to get your suitcase packed. It is splitting at the seams. It is splitting at the seams. At the seams. So welcome to my basement. This is my office, and I was down here setting up for this today, and I caught a mouse. I actually caught a mouse in a little container. Oh, they're so cute. But it did freak me out a little. So I've been a hunter today. Hunter-gatherer. This is speaking of hunter-gatherers, this is a song about being a mother, and lots of mothers have some issues, and you know, we try our best and we hope our kids remember the good stuff. And one day I had to pack my kids' lunches for a field trip, and they just wanted paper bags. They didn't want their whole big lunch kits to carry around, and I looked in my cupboards and all I had were liquor store bags. So I used that, and I thought, well, it might make a good song someday. So here you go. It's called Virginia. I'm a little craggly, it's the morning. Craggly, is that a word? She packs my lunches in liquor store bags, spends my UNICEF money on Marlboro lights, plays the golden oldies on an ancient transistor, and waltzes me around the kitchen at night. Already gone when I wake in the morning. Job number one at the first break of day. Note on the fridge says, I love you, Virginia. Here's $2 for milk. I'll see you at 8. And when the wind ends the boulevard trees, things they can break them, but they're rooted deep. Always reminds me of what you can take. And dancing around while the radio plays. both of us know I'll be pushed from the nest while I can fly. And when the wind bends the boulevard trees, things they can drown us, but somehow we swim. Always reminds me of what you can take. And dancing around while the radio plays. And dancing around while the radio plays. Thank you. Oh, I like that. It's nice to see your faces. I guess it's time. It's not too early for a little barbershop stabbing song, is it? Never, right? My great-grandmother, Asako Fukami, came to Canada, my settler ancestors. She came as a mail order bride, actually a picture bride from Japan, and met her husband in Victoria, BC, and he had a barber shop, so she started cutting hair with him at the shop, and their clientele was primarily lumberjacks. So she was cutting a lumberjack's hair one day, and he got a little gropey with his hands, and so she was part of the Me Too movement back in the day, and this is how that story ended up. True story. One rainy day in July, I stabbed you in your lumberjack thigh. When I felt upon me your wild hands. Oh my gosh, I just realized my guitar wasn't on. Could you hear the guitar okay? I'm going to start that again. Here we go. This will be better. One rainy day in July, I stabbed you in your lumberjack thigh. When I felt upon me your wild hands, I was chopping the forest of your hair with my new barbershop shears. You never know, do ya? That man standing by the brail of cream, with his jaw dropped in utter disbelief, is the reason I traveled so far. There once was a woman on a boat, mustered all her strength to leave her home. 8,000 kilometers from Kyoto to Victoria. You never know, do ya? Do ya? Do ya? You never know, do ya? Do ya? Do ya? That's my looping pedal backup singers. Do ya? Do ya? Do ya? Your Everybody's been asking for that for years. You pried the scissors from your leg, ripped my apron up and tied a tourniquet. With a heavy lane you lumbered to the till, and without a word you paid your bill. You never know, do ya? You never know, do ya? You never know, do ya? Thanks, everybody. I'll see you after your next session. I'll play some theremin for you.
Thank you so much, Keri. That was absolutely beautiful.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking.